You ready to rock and roll?
I'm ready.
Sweet. We're good? Oh, I
You forgot to stretch.
my neck thing.
All right. Everybody get ready.
I feel rusty, man.
Forgot to stretch.
Vacation threw me off.
You feel dusty?
Like
Rusty.
Rusty from the
I
salt.
feel dusty
Rusty.
too.
Rusty. It's okay, baby. I'll carry you home.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, sweetheart. I mean, I'm not that far. So
You guys do flirt.
I mean, yeah, we get pretty, yeah. I mean, but we like know everything about each other through this.
It's a bromance.
Yeah, it really is. All right. What is up, everybody? This is Joe Adams, and welcome to the Relentless Pursuit podcast. As always, we have my man, Logan Hyder of Cinema 83 in the house.
Hello. What's going on?
And today, we have a wonderful guest from Cookeville, Tennessee, Mrs. Shawn Irene.
Yeah.
Here she
Thank
is.
you.
Welcome.
I forgot which one's which. There it goes.
Oh, yes. That's appropriate.
But then, we gotta hit him with Joe's favorite, though.
I love it.
Oh, yeah. I love my,
Beautiful.
that's my favorite one.
He literally does that. He makes me do that for every
I
guest.
love that.
I love that. Isn't it
Yeah.
nice?
It's a nice touch. It's appropriate.
Yeah.
Thought it was just for me. I'm going to pretend like it's the first time we've done that.
It's the first time we ever
That's for
hit
me.
that button.
That feels right.
That's what I should have said. My bad.
I'm changing all the buttons to that one sound.
Yes.
So we can't switch it up. All right. This was happening. So, Shawn, how are you?
I'm great.
Hell
I'm
yeah.
hyped up on caffeine like you.
Yes.
We're ready to roll.
My second energy drink
Oh, can you
today.
tell? Oh, you can tell? Yeah.
It's not even past noon and I've already had.
Yeah, we're all geeking out.
Yeah. Hey, it's a good thing.
Good.
You got to sometimes. So, Shawn, what is it that you do? Just briefly.
So I own a med spa that is a health and wellness spa. I married them together. So it's a health and wellness spa with a med spa.
How'd you marry them together?
Well, so I used to run a med spa, managed a med spa before, and it was strictly just cosmetic things. We did injectables and body contouring and things like that. And then I realized that, as cliche as it sounds, it doesn't matter how you look if you're unhealthy and you don't feel good. So I wanted to create something that was different, that embodied look good, feel good, to where they were together. So that's where Fire and Ice come together. So
That's actually really cool.
Yeah,
That's
thank
creative.
you.
Hell yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, but it makes a lot of sense. You know, you can get all the things done to you, but it doesn't change your health any. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it
combining those
doesn't.
two, that's powerful. Hell yeah. I love it.
Thank you.
Sweet. So now that we know that, take us back a little bit. Give us your backstory, you know, as far back as you want to go. Talk
Yeah.
about your upbringing and whatnot and what led you to where we're at now.
Well, I'll start with what led me to Fire and Ice. As
Okay.
I said, I was working at a med spa, and you know, it's pretty crazy because I loved what I was doing there. I love the aspect. I always tell people, I don't care if somebody's forehead moves, if they have wrinkles. I really don't give a shit. You know, like makes no difference in my life. What I do love is the confidence that it can instill. If there is something that is bothering, especially a woman or a man even, and we can correct that or take the focus off of it, I love that they can focus on something else, right?
course.
Because especially as ladies, we spend so much time focusing on our outside appearance and being self-conscious. I used to be extremely self-conscious, and it stopped me from doing everything. And so with the med spa, that was something that I wanted to do. I wanted to make sure that women could erase something or improve on something that they were self-conscious about, to where they go forward and put all their energy into something else.
Nice.
So I was managing a med spa, doing that, love that. There were some areas in management that I didn't necessarily like. I felt like there was a lot of high pressure cells, and I felt like we were trying to almost show the insecurity to the woman.
Yeah.
And I always say I don't want anybody to come into my spa and feel more insecure than when they walked in. I want them to feel empowered and more confident. So
Of course.
kind of felt like that was happening a lot and that I was getting pushed to do that. And so I decided, I'm like, I want to do my own thing. I want to create something a little different. But I wasn't quite brave enough to do that.
Yeah.
And it so happened that I had just gotten divorced the year prior while I was working there. So I was already working
When was
through all
this?
of that. This was 2015.
Okay.
So I had got divorced. So life was, it was interesting.
Shakes things up.
So just to give you a little background, I've got 3 kids. My oldest is 23 now. She was, I believe, 15, 16 at that time. And then I had two toddlers, so two babies, as I like to say.
Yeah. I mean, I look at them all the same, toddlers, babies.
Yeah,
they're all
still,
babies
I still call them the babies.
until they
so.
get past like 5 or,
Or 20.
Yeah, right.
If you're the mom.
I know my mom still treats me like when I'm like, Mom, chill out. She's
Yeah.
like, you're always my baby. I'm
Yes,
like, thanks.
it's so true. You'll see as they grow. It's so true. But so as far as how the med spa got started, I was going through all of that, and I'd felt like I was finally getting back on my feet when I got that job as, the med spa director and a manager there. I felt like I was getting back on my feet. And, because after the divorce, I remember my dad saying, well, you're going to lose the house. Your kids are going to have all this instability. You can afford to live here. My dad is great, but he can sometimes just point out the obvious, of what everybody's thinking, I guess.
Yeah.
And so I looked at him and I was like, well, how do you know that I can't afford this house? And, he's just like, I don't think you would be able to, with 3 kids and all this. And so I think more or less I was set out to prove to everybody, look, hey, I can do this. I can make it. I'm going to still create stability in my children's life. And I was hell bent on keeping them in that house. But it took me forever to find a job. And I remember thinking, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to do this. And I told my dad at one point, I said, it's one thing to be like half-assing things, right? And things not going your way, but it's another thing when you're absolutely digging in and it feels like water. It's like you're trying to hold water. That's what I could equate it with. I'm like, it feels like I'm trying to hold water in my hands and it's just seeping through. Like, I'm one of those people, like, I don't half-ass things. I give it all I have, full ass it.
Yeah,
Full access.
And so, like, I was digging in and I remember just like, nothing was happening. Everything just felt like it was stacked against me. Well, turns out my resume that I uploaded did not upload any of my prior work history. And so nobody was calling me back. I didn't have a job for 4 months. So I was pretty scared.
Was it like a fault on the website or something?
Probably mine, if we're being honest, like.
So you half-assed that.
Yeah, I half-assed that, right? Throw me with more things.
Before we get too much into this part,
Yes.
we'll work back to this part,
Okay.
right? So I'm not sure how much of the beginning that you said there, but you were talking about your dad. So kind of go back with the segue of like your parents.
Okay, so my dad is really big in my story. When I believe I was 4 or 5. I was telling you earlier, I lived in Louisiana, and I'm out of a family of 5. Well, 5 brothers and sisters. I'm right in the middle.
Okay.
And when I was 5 years old, my mom and dad, they went through a big divorce, big custody battle. And I had to pick who I wanted to live with. So my mother actually threw my
That's
father.
always really fun to
It was
have to do. I've
Yes,
been
at
there.
5.
I've been
At
there.
5, yeah.
Yeah, I've been there.
That's
It's great.
great. It's not traumatic at all.
That's tough.
Yeah. And it's weird because, back then they weren't as sensitive to things like that. I remember they put me in a court and they put me on a
Me too.
witness stand.
Yep.
Isn't that wild to think of now? Like,
yeah. Well,
I
and
don't
it's
think they
also
would-
like that's a terrible situation to be in if you're for the kid, but even for the parents, that's a bad situation if you're getting a divorce to be in. But it's even worse if like there's not an effort to not weaponize the child.
Yeah.
So if there is an effort to weaponize the child, it can get really ugly.
Oh, and it seems like when it's to that point, it's always, to weaponize the child.
I tell you what, I've had a lot of guests, a lot of friends that, and I'm really close with my parents.
That's
like
awesome.
they've been together for 30-something years
That's a
now, and like
blessing, yeah.
they're amazing. They're like best friends of mine. And, I never say that to brag. I'm very fortunate, I'm very blessed,
Yeah.
and it's brought me closer to them because most of my friends have been through shit like that, and I'm like, damn, that sucks, man. It's crazy how rare that is.
It really is.
So, man, when I hear that stuff, I was like, I couldn't imagine because having the relationship with them that I do. So, man, I feel for everybody, because it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah, there's enough trauma you're going to have in your life just living,
Right.
let alone having to start at such a young age.
Yeah.
So I do feel like I look back on my life and people will say things like, I'll hear them say, oh, Shawn, you're one of the strongest ladies I know. And there's been points in my life where I feel like, yeah, but it's exhausting. It's exhausting at times. Sometimes I want to be soft and I want to be a woman, you know, and it's at times I don't feel that way. I feel like how you look, you know.
Right.
Thanks.
Like that's why I'm like, we're twinsies whenever we came in. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
And there's, you know, that's the reason why we're twinsies.
Yeah, I love that.
So you went through this custody battle when you were 5.
Yeah. So I went through the custody battle. There is all this stuff that went with it. You know, I had to pick. The bad thing is my siblings were not from my dad. So I was the only one from my dad. So I was very close with my siblings. My brother was 2 years older than me. My sister was 3 years older than me. And then I had a little sister that was 2 years younger than me and a baby brother as well. So, I mean, I was smack in the middle. But I chose my dad. I'm a daddy's girl, just always have been. And I'm his only one. And I just thought, you know, what would he do without me, you know, as a little girl, which is pretty crazy to even have to think of. We moved to Tennessee and I seen my mother, I think 1 or 2 more times. The last time I seen her, I was 7. And it is weird to say, but I had a feeling that would be the last time I would see her. I just, you know, just intuition at a young age. I just felt like that was the last time I would see her.
How old were you?
I was 7.
Oh, okay.
And you haven't seen her since then?
I have, but I did not see her until I was an adult, or my brothers and sisters. So something weird, you know, parenting, right? Like you do the best you can, and there are decisions you make, and you look back on some of them, and I'm sure you're just like, was that a good idea? But my dad would have me check the mail every day just to make sure that when I grew up that I wouldn't be able to say, oh, you know, he was hiding. You hear of parents hiding letters and things like that all the time. Yeah. And so I would check the mail every day to see that my mother wasn't writing me. But in doing so, I also seen every day that my mother wasn't writing me.
Oh.
So, you know, it was hard. Yeah. Excuse me. And that situation is hard. When you talk about it, you kind of feel like that little girl again.
Yeah, I'm sure that wasn't his intention.
It wasn't.
You know,
I know.
like he wanted you to be like, hey.
I mean, I think the idea behind that is solid.
It's very smart.
He wanted you to trust him,
that's
right?
tough, though. It's like you said, like the fact that you were even having to think that way about your dad before is just unfortunate. And it's like the fact that that was a lesson that probably needed to be taught to you sucks. But it sucks. And also, I kind of get where he's coming from. It's like,
yeah, I mean, I can't.
It's rough.
You know, I definitely can't say that my dad was keeping her from me. You know, so there's that. But you know, as a little girl, that's tough. And being raised by my dad, you know, and a girl named Shawn.
Right.
There's some issues that come with that, for sure. You know, I definitely grieve not having my brothers and sisters. I, in my mind, made myself more angry at my mother to where I could push that down. But when it came to my brothers and sisters, they didn't do anything. So that I really did grieve, you know, not having them.
5 of y'all, then just you.
Then just me, yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough. That's a tough transition right there.
Well, my dad did remarry when I think I was like 8 or 9. I'm bad with time frames, but he remarried to this woman that I pretty much kind of forced him into dating because she made macaroni and cheese.
Hell yeah.
That is a good reason.
And I was living with a very young dad and his roommate.
Oh, man.
Who was his cousin, and there was no mac and cheese. It was a lot of
ramen and
Salisbury steak, frozen Hungry Man, and
there you go.
pot pies.
The good stuff.
Oh, God. I still can't eat Salisbury steak.
No, I'm sure it probably,
Oh, it was so bad.
Old.
Can I ask you a question real quick? You may have been getting to this, but so why was it that there was such a like stark like line drawn? Like you saw her that time, and then you never saw her or your siblings again. Like, did something happen?
I don't know. That's
Did they move or something?
Well, we moved.
Oh,
we moved from Louisiana, and we went to live with my aunt. So we moved from Louisiana, and we came. My dad has 7 sisters. And so, as I stated, he was a very young dad. And I'm sure now, looking at as an adult, he's probably like, what am I going to do with this little girl, you know? And so he moved me closer to be with my aunt. So I'm sure that they could kind of make sure I was being taken care of and that he knew what he was doing and vice versa.
Yeah,
you
they
know?
kind of keep an eye on things. Yeah.
So we lived with he moved in at that point with my cousin, who is my aunt's daughter, or son. Sorry, my aunt's son. Nowadays,
People are into that.
Do what you want.
Yeah.
So we lived with him, but there was a woman across the hall who had a little girl that was just a year younger than me, and we become friends. And she would cook and make macaroni and cheese and rolls and things, all the good yummy things that little girls like. So I convinced my dad to date her, and they soon after got married, which was.
So it was a good call on your part?
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
It was not.
The macaroni was only hiding
The plot
truth.
twist. The plot thickens.
Oh, God. It gets wild.
No, it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. Her daughter was a nightmare. Like, we're pretty sure she was a possessed little girl at this point, but she has since apologized, though, so I shouldn't say that. She just probably had her own issues at that point and was acting out. But they married and it got really bad. She was an alcoholic, really bad. There was a lot of verbal abuse in the home, big time. Like I remember just things being said to me that I forever remembered. And there were things said that like, no wonder your mother doesn't love you, stuff like that. Just stuff that really sticks with a little girl.
That's shitty. I mean, that'd stick with adults.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah. And, there were just, her daughter, it's just, there was a divide between the whole family. My dad was with her until the 7th grade. And so there was a lot of insecurity that really grew in me. I went from being this really flamboyant, like energetic child to just kind of shy and very insecure.
Yeah, it forced you to like shut down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I remember there's a story. My stepmother, she was really into tarot cards, and she did my stepsister's tarot reading. And we're in the 1st grade, and it was that she was going to live in a big brick house and marry a doctor, and she was going to have like 2 kids and a swimming pool. And I was like, oh, do mine. I was real excited. And so she did the cards. And she was flipping them over, and she's like, oh. I was like, what? She said, I see you pushing your car with your 5 kids up a hill to go to Antonia's pool.
I mean,
and
Jesus.
That stuck with me.
Yeah.
That stuck with me, like, big time, because I remember thinking, she thinks I'm going to be just like my mother, because my mother had 5 kids by 5 different men. And that was my fear in life, was to be like my mother and to be like that prediction. And so to me, that just, I don't know, it did something to where.
How old were you at that time?
I was in the 1st grade.
Damn. In the 1st grade?
1st grade, yeah. And so that was kind of the tone of the relationship. I remember when I was, I think in the 4th grade or something, she said it was weird how much I loved on my dad, and that it was kind of sick, and that we shouldn't do that. And so,
It's messed up.
Yeah. So as an adult, I look back on it now, and as, in my father's defense, like if somebody says that, you're going to be like, well, God, I'm going to back off, right? Like I don't want to be accused of anything or whatever. But I remember like the hugs really went down, and, I wasn't getting it from her. I wasn't getting it from a woman. And so I feel like that just created all kinds of issues that I was going to have to work through later. Damn.
Yeah, that's crazy
that's
too.
Like a uniquely fucked up psychological couple things. For one thing, by the way, fate has told me that you're screwed. And also, all this love and affection thing, that's got to go.
Yeah, no one loves you.
And really,
think about those 2 things. Oh, yeah, and your mother doesn't love you.
Your mom doesn't love
nice.
you. We can clearly see why.
Nice.
Your father needs to stop hugging you as well.
And love and affection is so important. I mean, I was raised that way.
Is,
and I mean, my daughter, I'm always loving on her. I always will. I mean, she's the most precious little thing. Yeah. It's just crazy to even think that would be.
It's actually a pretty sick thing to say.
Yeah. I mean, that lady, looking back, you just, you grow. And I've always, we got some pretty negative comments on some stuff that we shared on, from the clips on Facebook, YouTube, and whatnot. And we had a special needs kid, and people were just saying some pretty nasty things about him.
I watched that one, but I didn't know anybody said anything.
Oh yeah, you should see the Facebook comments because it went viral. It's got like 500,000 views or something.
Jeez.
And some of the stuff I've seen.
I was
is just
thinking about
sickening.
that, like because of the bad
dude, you should
comments
see
that we
this
got
stuff.
on one that didn't have, like on Instagram it has like 25,000, but on there it has like 500. And whenever I kind of put that in my head, I was like, damn, if we got that many comments on the 25,000, I bet.
Dude, I tell you what, man, it's had me fuming at the ears.
Yeah.
And I just had to step back and be like, man, these people are adults that haven't dealt with the shit they went through as a child.
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes down to it, like they're so fucked and they haven't confronted things and that they're just going to say some mean, hateful shit to somebody that like sure as hell doesn't deserve it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just what it comes from. Like you got to have compassion for them. And I know it's easier said than done. But these people just have some shit they haven't fixed.
They're miserable.
That lady hasn't obviously either that put you through that.
Yes, and it took me it's taken me probably the last several years to realize that because I had a lot of anger towards her, you know, and
Can't blame you.
unspoken anger. And but it does. I used to go to this church and the pastor would always say, well, it's not the pastor, it's in the Bible. It's out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So it's like what's in you when you're squeezed, it comes out, right? So it's like eventually you can fake, you can cover it up with macaroni and cheese all day long.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, what is in your heart is going to come out. So, if we were to dig into her past, I'm sure it's probably a huge shit show of what's happened to her. And we would all have empathy for her at that point, So I try to remember that when I think about my story and my past, because it's just, she was squeezed and she was in this position and she didn't have the love to give. Like she just didn't have the love to give.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate as well.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
That's we're gonna take a break in a second, but that's a really hard one. I have to, my stepdad growing up was the same way.
Really?
Yeah, except for they were together for 15 years.
Oh God.
So until I left for college. So from the time I was 5 until I went to college, and he was like opioid addict, alcoholic, verbal abuse. Like when I was a freshman in college or freshman in high school, I was weed eating a hill on the side of our house. And I couldn't hold the weed eater straight, and like it would hit the ground, and when it hits the ground, it like creates this big sort, kind of fucks it up, whatever. Yeah. And I've been doing landscaping with him for years at that point, and he was the kind of like it's never good enough, type of thing. But this one day he took it to a different level, and like I did that at one point, and he told me that if I couldn't hold a weed eater straight, that I should quit football and kill myself.
Jesus.
Yeah,
That's pretty dark stuff.
So I hear you on the
out of the abundance
whatever
of the
happened,
heart, the mouth speaks.
whatever happened to you, buddy? Like,
I do got to ask you though. Do you still eat mac and cheese?
I love mac and cheese.
Good.
Let's
All right,
go.
sweet.
I was willing to risk my
Because
childhood
I would
for
be
it.
going
There you
after.
go.
I'd be going after if she ruined that.
yeah, could you
know what I'm
imagine?
saying?
You're like, now I can't even eat mac and cheese. It's fine. Call me whatever you want. Don't take fucking mac and cheese from me.
I just cry when I eat it.
All right, we gotta take a break.
All right. This episode is brought to you by Relentless Pursuit. Check us out at relentlesspursuitlifestyle.com for all of our clothing, training, all the good stuff. Also, check out the Patreon account we have where we do exclusive episodes and interact with all the private members and whatnot on there at patreon.com/The Relentless Pursuit Podcast. And be sure to check out episode number 50 with my man JT and Garner McGrady. And JT's son is special needs. JT lost his wife to cancer this year, actually. And so we're doing a fundraiser for them for the next few months. And so we would love to get your contribution and help that family out. So definitely go check that one out. Thank you. Andy, you doing one? Is she doing one? Did you tell her?
What?
Well, I told her it's just that you just stopped talking. But, go,
Somebody cue me in. I'm
That's
new
what
here.
I'm saying.
My
I don't
bad.
know
I'm
what
usually
he's,
all right on
I don't
you.
know what he's doing.
Like, what
I
does
don't
this
want
look like?
I
I told
told
you
you-
it's my first podcast.
We're blaming it on vacation.
I
Brain.
told y'all I was rusty.
Yeah.
So, hold on.
He
What
said,
should I do? Are we still recording right now?
Yeah, it's fine.
He'll
You're
cut
gonna
it.
cut it?
He'll fix it.
I may not just because it's funny, but
Okay.
yeah.
like,
No,
you're
so
good, whatever.
I just say, and also
My bad.
check out.
No, you
is
just
that
say
one?
your name, your business name, where they can check it out, that kind of thing.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, just switch to that one for a
Throw
second,
me into the
and then we'll go back
lion's
to.
den.
And then well, I told you about it, but he killed me.
Your
with that
fault.
I
segue.
usually pass it on. I don't
Yeah,
know, man.
like-
the sun got to me, the beach.
Go
Okay.
ahead. Go ahead.
And I'm Shawn Simono. Make sure to check out Fire Ice Cryo Medspa, Cookeville, Tennessee. It's a full-service med spa and health and wellness spa as well.
So you were in 7th grade.
7th. Yeah.
I was at one point.
Yeah, where were we?
Don't worry. We already did. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
You just sit over there, darling. Look pretty.
I don't know which one he's talking to now.
I know.
Because that's my job.
Thanks.
Listen, it applies
We're both like,
It applies.
Okay.
we're both like, yeah, naturally, of course. That's what I do.
Easy. Don't ask too much.
I think
Logan.
the rest of the episode should just be us talking about how great we are and how beautiful.
Oh God.
Can we do that?
Just
Yeah.
I could do an hour of that.
It's
Yeah,
all
yeah.
clips of that. It's all clips of that. I just post
Okay.
that to Instagram. People are
That's
like, what the
hilarious.
hell?
And then you
so
just
what
go
was this
like this.
episode about? It's like exactly what it sounds like.
Like fix the mohawk.
Took a
Fix the
turn.
mohawk.
Didn't
So
just-
she was a self-conscious little girl, you say.
That's so funny.
I don't remember where we're at.
Yeah, so
you were talking about your stepmother, and you said that they split whenever you were in 7th grade.
Yes. So,
he's got such good memory.
yeah, it's that attention span,
Yeah,
right?
mine's not
It's the
somewhere.
caffeine.
Yep.
But yes, so in the 7th grade, they did actually split, which was a blessing. And I'll tell you the story about it, how it happened, because it was really cool. I thought my dad was real cool. So we're in the living room. I'm in the living room with my stepmother, and she had like this 20-year-old girl over she was partying with, getting drunk. And I heard her say real loud, she was like, "That bee better not be messing with my man Steve, or I'm going to whoop her ass." And my dad's name is Nelson.
Oh shit.
My dad heard it because she was incredibly drunk. So, she was talking really loud. So my dad comes out and he's like a boss, and he goes, "Turn the music down, go to bed, and have your stuff out in the morning." And we celebrated so hard the next day when she got her stuff out. No one was sad.
That was like the perfect. It was like, yep, she can go now.
I was like, "Thank you, Jesus." Like, it was the best thing.
awesome.
Like,
Yeah,
in a fair,
Yeah.
like,
So
at
thanks,
that
Steve.
point, thank you,
Yeah,
Steve.
thanks, Steve.
Steve is the real winner of
That's
this
so
conversation.
funny.
He's the hero.
Yeah,
So shout
yeah.
out to Steve. We're taking one for the team.
I mean, really though. I mean, it's a necessary catalyst. I was cheated on one time years ago, and I ended up telling the guy like, "Thanks, like you
Yeah.
exposed who this person was. Like, good thing I didn't marry him or something."
Like you said,
Yeah,
like some of the hardest things, or the most trying things turn out to be the best or
Yeah.
necessary, right? So for me, it was really good because then it got to be me and my dad.
Yeah.
So we wind up moving closer into Cookeville because we lived pretty far out, and thus began the teenage years of Shawn. So, of course, I'm going into teenage years very insecure at this point, and a lot of issues I probably should have worked through. But at that, nobody did therapy for children or girls or anything like that. At
Yeah.
that point, it was just you suck it up and you keep going. So,
Deal with it.
so with that, what comes with girls that are very insecure and lack of emotional needs met come boys that are just have an eye for girls like that. And I was that girl. I was very insecure. I didn't I would walk into a room of other girls and I would compare myself with each one of them of how I was inadequate and how I wasn't enough. And I always felt very masculine. I remember, my dad, we didn't have a lot of money. Dad's a single guy, he's, we've lived in trailers my whole life in apartments, and I never lived in like an actual house until I bought my house. I was so proud of that because I'm like, look, it doesn't have any wheels.
Look
on
at me.
it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so it just, it's one of those things where, I was very insecure and I never felt pretty. I never felt feminine. And I think that's very important for girls and for ladies to feel that way, to feel that value about themselves. But I wind up meeting a boy, and I got pregnant at 17 with my oldest daughter, who's now 23. I got pregnant with her at 17 and wound up having her at 18. So I like that because I can say I was 18 when I had my first baby. It somehow sounds a little bit better to me. So with that, I was in and out of relationships. I wound up getting married to her dad at a very young age, and it was an abusive relationship. And one day I was actually in college and doing school, and she was really little, and I was with my friend in the kitchen, and we were doing some homework, and our babies are the same age, and they were playing, and he came in just like a wrecking ball into the house and just looking for stuff. Like he was like going through the house looking for something that was wrong, or the laundry or whatever it was, you know, and everything was like clean. So I was just like, what is he doing? And he got so angry, and something was so wrong. I could just tell that when he went outside to his truck, I locked the deadbolt. And I remember like just being brave enough to do that because my friend was there. And he wound up kicking the door through the deadbolt, like the door off the hinges. It came through. He was a big guy, like he's 6'4". He's like big. And he kicked it off, and she was just like, oh my gosh, we need to go. You need to take me home and all this. And so I said, I'm going to take her home. And I grabbed my daughter, and I never went back. And so, you know, that was one relationship, and it was awful. He wound up, come to find out he was on meth. And so that's where, you know, lots of issues come out of that. And that's where he got his super strength as well. So yeah. So it just, lots
It's a good
of
thing
things.
you got out of that one.
How old was
yeah.
your daughter at this time?
She was 1.
Okay, so
Yeah.
this is not long after.
Yeah, we've had quite the battle over all the years. Just
You would have been still a teenager then, right? Because you had her when
I was
you were
19.
18. Yeah,
Yeah, I
damn.
was 19.
It's a lot to do with.
Yeah. It was a lot. I wound up having it. There was a lot of stuff that happened. Just so many things. I have a mugshot.
Nice.
Hell yeah. We should
There's
just
no way to lead into that other than, so guess what? I have a mugshot. Mm-hmm. I know you knew it when I walked through the door. But yes,
What
so
you
just to
didn't know is that
confirm,
we printed it off.
I would love to see
Yeah, when I
that.
peeked around, I was like, look at this criminal in my
Like, you
building.
didn't know that we do background checks on all the guests.
It's like look at this girl. She for sure has a rap sheet. Like,
That's so
go
funny.
ahead and pull the report. But yeah, so when I found out he was on drugs and stuff, I stopped letting him see my daughter. And of course, that's illegal, which is insane to me. And so,
It's illegal to stop letting somebody.
yeah, it
Really?
is. Yes, it
Like
absolutely
you
is.
can't just like decide, even in that scenario, you can't just like not, legally.
No, because by court,
they could go-
by
yeah,
law, he was
yeah.
supposed to
I was
have
gonna say
rights.
he could go claim
Yeah.
and be like, she's keeping my kids from me.
And so I got arrested, and I had a court date. I didn't know because I hired an attorney, and turns out he had dementia. And
He had dementia?
Yes. I fired him because he kept getting my case so mixed up that I was like, and I was 19. I didn't have any money, you know. I'm like living with my dad and my daughter, and I'm just like taking every little bit of money I have to try to keep my daughter safe. And so, you know, I just hired the cheaper lawyer, I guess. And it didn't pan out well because he signed a paper for me. And so apparently I missed a court date. So it wasn't anything too bad. I had to hire another attorney to prove that that was not my signature. But I did get booked, and I do have a mug shot. So I'm very proud of it, you know. But
Very
it was
nice. Very nice.
quite the chaotic years for a while.
I know. I just want to put your mugshot on the wall instead of. Yeah.
Yes, if you find it,
Instead of the-
it's a very scared 19-year-old girl. Like,
That's funny.
so what's funny is they did not book me. Like, they were supposed to put me in there overnight, you know, and all that. And the guy goes, no. He says, you're going to go home to your baby. And I was like, thank you. So scared.
That's-
So
that's cool.
could they not use him being like his drug issues? Were they ongoing enough that they could use that to help you? Or
It's
no?
insane. It is really insane. They said unless you have proof that he is doing drugs and he gets pulled over in the car and is on drugs or drunk or has an accident, there's no way to prove it. And I even had like a recording of him like making drug deals and talking about his daughter having to go
What?
pick her up. Yes.
Oh yeah. So I feel like that's proof.
No, it
enough.
didn't. No, it's not enough. It was not enough, which is insane. And I made the comment. I'm like, listen, you're not going to have anything to worry about. There's not going to be a case if he is in an accident with my daughter while he's on drugs. Like, you know,
Yeah,
at that point,
yeah.
you're just, you know, the mama in you comes out.
Of course.
But yeah,
well,
so
and like
it's-
if that did happen after they knew that and after you gave them the recording and et cetera, I mean, then they'd be like, well, yeah, I kind of feel like we should have called that one. And it's like, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's insane. Like the things that it takes to kind of get rights.
I mean, but some people abuse it. You know, like some people are like, he's on drugs and, you know,
Right,
and the
especially
guy's
now.
maybe never done drugs, like,
Yeah.
but they just want to fucking hurt you. You know?
Oh no, he would show up to her daycare
Yeah.
and his windshield would be bust out and there would be glass all in the car. Like he would be sweaty. I mean, he was strung out. Like it was really bad.
obvious.
Like he was in and out of rehab and he still struggles with it. Like, you know, and it's 23 years later. So it's really sad.
That is crazy.
But it was a nightmare. I wound up putting her in private school in my early 20s, paying for private school and therapy and all this stuff, and just to try to keep her normal, you know, keep her protected as good as I could. But so that's just kind of a bump in the road to me. So just with all of that, I felt like I'd always felt like I didn't deserve good. You know, at this point, I was thinking, you know, my mother's left me, my stepmother hated me. You know, my ex was abusive. It's just there was no room for anything good.
It was almost hopeless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I kept finding myself in those relationships one after another. I remember just thinking anybody, like if anybody would love me, that was good enough.
Yeah.
Like I really did.
I saw it. I'm not trying to cut you off because it's
Yeah.
important, but it's super relevant to what you were saying. And I don't even have a daughter, but like it just like took me back how crazy this was. I think I told you about this already, but there's this guy on Instagram. Long story short, he said he was in the military. He went up to the biggest like man whore that he knew in the military. You know, just slept around with everybody, did whatever he could to do whatever he could, and basically asked him like, "Hey, you're the worst, you know, about this I've ever seen." He said, "And I have a daughter," and he was like, "What should I do to protect my daughter against men like you?" And this man's answer was, "Tell her you love her, or somebody else that doesn't will convince her that he does."
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. For sure. Yeah. I look
And it
back
made me think
now.
about you because you bring that up about how you tell Ozzy every day.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw that clip.
I did.
I tell her how proud
I
I am.
did.
Yeah, and I love that. I mean, yeah,
But
it's
that makes
important
so
to me
much
because
sense to me.
I want her, you know, to have when she is dating,
Yeah.
her standards are going to be fucking high, you know. And I mean, I feel that it's very positive. I mean, and it takes
It
just
is.
simple. It's very simple stuff to do
Yeah.
to have that impact.
But do you think that you agree with that?
Absolutely. I think if your love tank is low, you'll look for anyone to fill it.
Yep.
You know, and so you got to keep it full. You got to keep it to the top. Or, you know, even the Bible says anything bitter is sweet to the hungry man, right? So it's like when you're full and you have that in your life, you're not going to settle for just anything. You're going to settle for something good. So
Oh yeah.
I remember when my daughter was probably 3 or 4, I took her to the pool and there was this lady and she was with a really handsome guy, like a guy that I was like, man, he's hot, you know, he's really good looking. And, you know, I was like really fit, you know, always had my dad's metabolism, you know, it doesn't take a lot of effort, you know, for me to stay in good shape, you know, I'm thankful. But, so self-conscious. I had a little 6-pack without even having to do anything after having a baby. But when I'd get up in the pool, I'd wrap a towel around me and I would just like kind of scurry, you know, hoping nobody would look at me. And there's this girl with this really handsome guy. And she's a bigger girl, you know, and I know big girls are in style now, but they weren't getting all the love back then, right? So I'm going to get canceled. But I just remember looking at her in awe, like, how did she pull this guy? Like, this guy is a stud, you know? And I watched her walk, and something switched in me when I watched her walk. When she walked, she had no towel. She was not that towel was off, and that girl was strutting. I mean, she exuded confidence, and she was sexy. Like, I was like, okay, she was way sexier than I was, and that's for dang sure, no matter what body type you like, right? And I remember, like, she's confident. Like, how does she have so much confidence? Not that she doesn't deserve to have that confidence, but, like, how did she embody that?
You looked at it differently then, too.
Yeah.
You were so much younger as well.
Yeah.
So.
And I remember just like, wow, I want to be like that. I want to be like that one day, you know? But it took a long time before I was even close to that. It's a lot more heartbreaks and things like that happened along the way. But that was always my ultimate goal. Is I've always wanted to be a woman that exudes confidence and that, just like her and just other women that I'd met along the way that were successful and ambitious and beautiful and made a difference and weren't just so focused on their self, being self-conscious.
Of course.
So, yeah.
You know
That
that
stuck with you, though.
You know that
It
poem
really did.
Yeah.
that I read to Jesse, the Our Greatest Fear, last time I was here?
Yeah.
You know how at the end it says, like, whenever you are liberated from your own fear, you automatically liberate others. And when you let your own light shine, your presence, when you let your own light shine, you give other people permission to do the same. Right?
Yeah.
So that girl just walking with confidence, she didn't have to say a word. You didn't have to know her.
No, I
But
don't
she-
even know who she is.
But
She
she
let
was
that light
letting her
shine.
light shine, and it gave you permission to do the same thing. You're like, well, shit, she can do it. I can do it.
Yeah.
So, and that's why I like that saying, because it's like whenever you're doing that, it's like you don't really have to enforce it on people, really.
Yeah.
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 It just, and to think that like this girl walking 10 steps that one random day
Yeah.
is something we're talking about, however,
Yeah.
much later, is crazy to kind of think about that trajectory.
It just shows you don't know the impact you can have on somebody you just day to day. She's hanging out at the pool, and I'll always remember. It's like,
Oh, yeah.
she doesn't know who I am. I don't even know who she is.
What's
at
she
this
up to
point.
now,
Yeah, who knows?
Just strutting?
Hopefully she's living her.
Just
hopefully she's
strutting away.
strutting away.
Just walking, just strutting
She's
around.
living in her era now. You
We
know,
wonder.
getting all the love, getting all the love.
That's exactly what I mean, though, about the letting your own light shine. It's like she didn't even know what she was doing. She but she was letting her light shine, and she didn't even have to talk to you or anything. It's just she just had to do that. That was all she had to do, and it was enough to
Yeah.
influence you.
You know what?
So that's pretty
Maybe
cool.
she's sitting there right now thinking, I wonder what that girl at the pool
Yeah,
doing, because I strutted my shit for her.
yeah.
You know?
and you never know.
She looks down, and
It
I
was
wanted to
on
help her
purpose.
out.
Show her how it's done.
It's possible.
Hey, it is possible.
So
very possible.
That's cool. That's positive. That stuck with you, and that
Yeah.
seems to have carried on into your life now,
Yeah.
obviously. So, hell yeah, that's awesome.
So you're going through the custody stuff.
Yeah, so that was a very long, drawn out thing. It just went on forever. It's just one of those things. But I always felt like a mother bird, which is you see the depiction of like the bird with all the arrows in the back, like protecting someone or something underneath. That's kind of how I felt with her. It's like, and I tell her now that she's older, I'm like, I'm sure that I let a couple arrows through, but I took a lot. I took a lot of them for her.
You did the best you could.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
That's all that matters.
And she's confident. She's beautiful. To me, she's perfect. I just love her,
Yeah.
I grew a whole woman.
You
Me,
did.
the girl named Shawn, raised by her dad.
You did it.
Do you have any perspectives to share about having gone through a custody battle when you were young, and then having gone through a custody battle with your child when they were young?
Yes. I remember, and it's one of those things, right? Like as a parent, you realize the things that your parents did that you will never do. But also you get the perspective of knowing there are things that I have done that I know that she will later say, I will never do. So I've had that realization that no matter how good I've done, I know that there's going to be things that she's going to be like, man, my mother did this. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, dang it, I tried, But I really tried to let her talk about her dad because he was so absent out of her life because of the drug use. He would come back every once in a while, long enough to break her heart and gain her trust and do it over and over again. But I would always leave that door open for her to talk and ask any questions of what she wanted because I felt like that was something that I wasn't allotted. I did not speak of my mother at all, like didn't even mention her name growing up because I didn't want to hurt my dad's feelings, you
Yeah.
know? So it's like, I remember carrying that and thinking, I don't want her to have to deal with that. So, it's crazy because it's weird that I talk about my mom now that I'm an adult because it feels so foreign to do so because I felt like I never did it as a child. So now I'm very conscious. I'm like, I never want to sound like one of those people that are complaining, like childhood trauma.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's what kind of what you're here to share in a way. You know what I mean? Because then
Yeah.
other people that feel the way that you felt for a long time, which is not maybe uncomfortable is a word, but that's not really what I'm looking for. Like maybe you have the inability, maybe almost to share some of this stuff. It's like, again, going back to the poem. That's why I love the poem. You're liberating yourself from your own fear about speaking about this. And so you're giving other people permission to do that.
Yeah.
So that's why you're here.
And actually confront it and like become better from it. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Rather than just like keep bearing it in and using it like in a negative way. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's good.
Yeah. It just lets it out, right?
exactly.
Yeah, lets it out for sure.
I know-
But
So where did you go from there? How did that ultimately turn out?
so, I mean, she's turned out good, and having her was the scariest thing. Whenever I found out that I was pregnant with her, I was pissed. I'm talking, it was fear. It was fear that I turned into anger. I was upset. And I remember thinking, oh my God, I am just like my mother. Like, I'm just like my mom already. Like, 17, that is not what people sign up, like, it's just not. I'm like, there goes my plans of anything that I wanted. And I remember being so angry that everybody was really worried about me, all my family, because I was not happy about being pregnant. I was not happy about being a mother. I just thought I was going to be terrible. I thought, I'm going to ruin this child.
You thought about like the tarot card thing or yeah.
I'm on the way. I'm on the way.
You're like, it's coming true.
Sign me up. Here I am.
Oh shit. Yeah.
Poor as
that's
hell.
tough.
Yeah, poor as hell, living in the trailer with my dad in the back of the trailer. I'm like, yeah, this is exactly coming. It's coming full circle. So I was not happy about it, and I just assumed I was going to be a terrible mother because I've had no guidance as to what that looks like. And I remember going to, the baby doctor, the gynecologist, and the OB. And they put the little stethoscope up at the little microphone, and you hear the heartbeat. And I heard her heartbeat, and I'm telling you, like, my heart grew so many sizes bigger. It's like the Grinch, And after that, I was like, I am all in.
Yeah.
I am all in. And I will tell you, I'm one of the best mothers you'll ever meet. I will
There you
say
go.
it. I am proud to say it. I am a great
like it.
mother.
That's
That is
awesome.
one
I like it.
thing. I love being a mom. And even at that point, I was like, I'm going to be a damn good mom. And I have been. Like, there was hell that, bad choices and things I made, but through it all, I love that baby, and I still love her, and I've got her back no matter what. And so
That's amazing though. It takes that one little moment to kind of shift
that was
everything. I'm telling you, I got chills listening
Do you
to it.
remember
'Cause
that?
I remember. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it almost makes me emotional, and
Did you and Lydia hear it at the same time for the first time?
yeah. It was.
It's so beautiful,
It's
right?
insane. It's like, holy shit, like this is really happening.
Yeah.
And then it
Yeah.
just, God, man, there's nothing like it.
So that was
Like,
that was a
your
pivotal moment
universe
for you
goes from
too.
here to here.
Yes,
It's like,
it
man,
does.
I got all this shit going on, but it's like when you have your only little family unit, it's just like,
Yeah.
and that's the priority. And it's such a beautiful thing, and
Yeah.
your story reminds me, a lot of my mothers, and I'll get her on here one day to share. I mean, she was the youngest of 5 brothers and 1 sister.
Wow.
A couple of her brothers had passed away already from like drug abuse and stuff like that. And, my hellacious grandfather and everything he put them through. And like my mom went through shit. Like it's pretty crazy. And, but sometimes she'll be like, I tried to be the best mom I could. Like she's hard on herself. I'm like, Mom, you're amazing. But she got to see all this shit unfold in front of her, and she's been an amazing mother. But like she took that and used it to like give her kids a totally different experience, and I love that about her. I think it's powerful because she didn't fall into the same path everybody else did, and she came better from it. So you did the exact same thing. You're like, I'm going to be the best mother I can,
Yeah.
It was like all that experience was a chip on your shoulder to like prove everybody wrong,
Yeah, it really was. Like, I was even afraid to let people hold her because I was afraid that people would think I was trying to pawn her off on them. So I'd be like, no, I got it. And I had always worked 2 jobs, just trying to make sure that, but, it's one of those things. Once I had her, I was like, I am going to make my life better. I am going to push forward. I'm going to give her life. She's not going to know that we're poor. She's not going to know that we're broken. And maybe she did, but I think she knows that her mom is a fighter and that I fought for her. She does know that. I know that she knows that. And she's strong, man. And I'm telling you, she's so smart. She's 2 grades ahead. And I was always like I was way more on her than I am my other two kids because I'm like, I've already proved I'm a good mom now. They know, you know. Then I had something to prove.
Like, I got my degree on the wall. Fucking now, you know, you guys do whatever you want.
I'm like, you will be reading at 3 years old, and she was. She was reading at 3. She did everything super advanced. She actually graduated high school at 16.
I was about to say, so when you said she's 2 grades ahead, you mean she's 2 grades? Like she skipped 2 grades?
Yeah, she went. She actually.
How does one even do that?
Mm-hmm.
So
well,
like literally, how do you even do that? I've heard of people skipping 1 grade.
So there's a funny story behind it, actually. Because of all the stuff that was going on with her dad, I put her in a private school that also had a daycare. Well, my daughter, her name is Destin. It's Desiree, but I've always called her Destin. She is so tall. She's 5'11". Okay. She's like a Greek goddess of a woman. Like, she's just gorgeous. Right. But even as a child, she was so much bigger, and she's reading at 3. And so everybody just thinks she's older. Right. So I take her to this private school that has the daycare. They enroll her in kindergarten. I'm bringing her 3 days a week because I'm working part-time at a bank. And so I would drop her off at like 10 o'clock, you know, right before I had to go in and stuff like this. And they sent out like a newsletter to everybody, all the parents. It was me. Just saying, we know it's a big transition from pre-K to kindergarten, but you have to have your kids here every day. And so I went up to the teacher. I'm like, what do they mean? Like kindergarten prep? Like, what is this? She's like, no, kindergarten. And I'm like, Destin is 3. And they're like, what? Like, they're just like,
that's
like,
nuts.
Yeah. So they accidentally put her in kindergarten.
And then they just let her stay.
And the teacher said, Shawn, she is doing really well. Like, honestly, if you put her in like the pre-K area, she's going to be like,
what are we doing with this Play-Doh?
Yeah.
She throws it against the wall. She's like, get me out of her.
Mm-hmm. And so she just thrived. And so at the end of the year, she said she's ready for 1st grade. I'm like, what the heck? Like, she's so little. And but I let her move up, and I told the teacher, I said, as long as you are the one teaching her, because the teacher kept moving up every year. I said, as long as you're the one teaching her, I'll keep her in private school. This is really expensive at that time for me. And so she stayed there until the 2nd grade, and it was really difficult getting her into a public school because
of that.
Yeah. They're like, no, she needs to go back to 1st grade. I'm like, no. And then I went into the fit that I threw of like, that's why we're all like this. Nobody can excel. I need to talk to the board member, you know? But I will tell you one thing. I tell her all the time, I said, all the hell I went through with her father, like you had said, right? So everything either helps you or prepares you, basically, summarizing what you said. But having to go to war with him every day, it seemed like, for however many years, it took this very timid person and it made them tough. I had to be strong. I had to be tough for her.
Yeah, be able to go to war with anybody.
I can go to war with anybody.
Yeah.
I can
So it
go to
worked
war
out.
with
Well, and you
anybody.
also were talking about before your stepmom started doing what she was doing, that you were very like how you are now. You know, bubbly and energetic. And so, like, I feel like you were also touching back into yourself from there, and then combining it with your new level of like toughness at that point.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like you were able to access those things again. Plus, with that was like the best of both worlds.
Right. Yeah. So it forced me to, because I wouldn't have done it for myself, but it forced me to stand up. And so, I mean, when they said that she couldn't go to public school, I'm like, well, we'll see. And to war I went, you know, and she was in public school and she was in the correct grade. And so I tell her, I've told her before, I'm like, you know, there are good things from that we've both gotten from your father. I've learned how to fight and to stand up and to, you know, become a warrior when needed. And, you know, she has too. She's learned a lot. She's got a lot of, there's always something good to pull out of every bad situation.
We only have one segment left, so we want to hit the last big thing.
Yeah. So I can somehow bleed that into what's going on.
If you got it, then take it, girl.
Well, I don't got it, but I'm telling you I can.
You got it.
I think you got it.
We believe in you.
I don't know how to start it out. Is somebody else going to start it out?
We're already going.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
So
You
you're
gotta start.
you're doing it.
It's all on you.
You're doing it right now. You're doing it right now, whether you want to or not. So you might as well just jump in somewhere.
Okay, so where were we, right? But yeah, so just the confidence of having a daughter and being able to go to war for her has served me very well. So, you know, fast forward several years later, I've been married again and divorced again. There's probably a lot of issues I should have probably had counseling over throughout the years that I didn't, but the whole self-healing thing wasn't in style until, the last few years. So,
and it's a very positive thing too, that is becoming so.
Yeah. It's accepted.
Important.
And, because in my day, in my dad's day, being raised by a man, you talked about your emotions, you're weak. And even though I am a female, it was still, toughen up, don't cry. So it was none of that got resolved. So it bleeds into everything, right?
I see that a lot with men too. Like, past generations, like
we talk
don't
about
talk
that
about it. Yeah, we talk about it a lot, but I'm like, dude, I do a lot of badass shit, and like I feel I'm confident as a man, but I'm also very vulnerable. I'm willing to share these things because it helps people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And when you bottle shit in, that's when you're fucking, you may become abusive or whatever the case, because you just explode every once in a while rather than just like work on your shit. So negative.
That's for sure. For sure. So I think it's funny now what I do for a living.
Yeah.
Because the insecure girl, raised up and, so I'll just say I did not like women at all. Like I did not. I would have one girlfriend at a time, and all the rest of my friends would be guys. I just did not trust women at all. And so I remember I got pregnant with my son, and I wanted to have a water birth. I thought that was so cool. I'd seen a billboard of it, and I'm like, man, that's awesome. That's what I want to do. Yeah. And coming to find out, you can't get an epidural. So I thought I was going to get an epidural in the water, and they're like, nope. No, it's all natural. And so I did.
You're like, okay, so when you guys bringing in the
where is that nurse with the needle? And they're like, no. So we had some complications with him, but I had already set my mind to have a natural birth, and I'd already told everybody I was going to have a natural birth. So you can't go back on your word. Well, I wind up having a very complicated birth with him. 19 hours.
Jeez.
Of birth with this kid. Wow. My son. We both almost passed away. Seriously, my now business partner was my doctor that came in and really helped us both to survive. So I love him forever for that.
It's a fascinating twist of
my business.
I delivered your baby, and by the way, what are you doing on Monday?
Yeah, I'm like, I respect you. You want to go into business together? Yeah. I think you would fit just fine. Thanks for saving our lives. But so, I had my mindset on doing that, and after I did that, I'm telling you what, it was the craziest thing. My confidence level skyrocketed. I'm like, I am Superwoman.
After you did the natural birth?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That was hard as hell. That was so difficult. And it was for 19 hours. I kept saying you could do anything for a few minutes, right? But after 19 hours, it really starts to feel like, oh my God, I'm wearing down. Okay.
Yeah.
But I still did it. And I remember afterwards, my confidence going up so much. I was like, this is awesome. And then I got pregnant with my daughter right after. It was just immediately after, it seemed like. They were 17 months apart, and I did get to have her in the water, and I had her, it was 4 hours. It was what I thought birth should be, all natural. And I remember thinking, I want women to feel the way I do. I felt so confident, and I felt so strong. I was like, man, if I can do that, I can do anything.
Yeah.
And so I became a certified birth doula. And so I was actually helping women go through their birth. And what I loved about it more than the birth was helping the woman feel empowered, helping them feel strong, because I'm like, man, it does. It gives you so much power, just to know that you can do something that you didn't think you would be able to do. And so during that time, went through a divorce, and you can't really be a birth doula because everybody gives birth at 2 or 3 in the morning. You can't do that for a living as a single mom.
Yeah.
So I decided I'm going to have to find work. So that leads back into kind of where I'm at now. I knew that in order to be a birth doula, I had to be so close and so intimate with the woman that was giving birth. I could not have my defenses up. I could not be guarded against her. I had to be totally vulnerable with her because she was being vulnerable with me. And it healed so many parts of me. To me, it was just it was something that I needed, and I knew that I needed to work with women. I just knew that, which is wild because like I didn't even like them, let alone
quite the shift.
Yeah, I want to find a job where that's all I do. And so I remember again, I told you after that, like I didn't have a job for 4 months, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to lose everything that I've worked so hard for. And it's just, what do? You just feel defeated. And so I got down on my floor and I prayed. I said, God, I just need something good. It was like a desperation prayer. I just need something good. And so I got back up, opened the computer, like pulled myself up off the floor, opened the computer, and I was like, what do I really want to do? Well, I'd applied to this med spa like 4 times. I was borderline harassing them. And every time I'd call, they would just be like, oh, we're not open yet. Kind of like, chill out, lady,
Yeah.
And so I called this day. And somebody answered, and all I wanted was the receptionist position. Like, I just wanted to be in the environment where people were helping women. And she said that they had filled it, crushed, but I did not let them know. And I was like, oh, well, do you have anything else? And she was like, well, what do you do? I said, I can do anything. And she just like chuckled at the, the arrogance of me, I'm sure. And I said, no, really, I'm a quick learner. I'm a birth doula. Like I help women now. I can do anything. I'm such a fast learner. So she brought me in. She wound up hiring me on the spot to do cool sculpting, which was, for body contouring. So I was like the main person there. I'm like, how did I go from receptionist to the main person? And I did that for 3 years, and I loved it. I absolutely loved being able to, change one little thing of someone and see their confidence, and like for them to go out and conquer the world, whatever they wanted to do, whatever that looked like. And so with that being said, I was doing that. Everything was great. And I felt like I finally had life again, like that life was going good. And I'm like, I was proud. And I used to say, like, if you look back on my back, I know that there's a Kate back there. I'd had my babies. I'm in the house that everybody thought I'd lose. And, I'm killing it. I'm like doing great at work. And then I just started bleeding, and bleeding a lot, to the point where it was so much where I could not ignore it. So I had to go to a doctor, and they put me on hormones, and they're just like, here's some birth control, right? Which they do a lot with ladies. So they said, just that's what it is. And I was like, okay. And I was prepping for a bodybuilding show. I wanted to do my first bodybuilding show. So I was like super lean and eating really healthy. I didn't drink soda, didn't even drink energy drinks at that point. So I never would have fathomed that anything was wrong with me. And it was so crazy because right before I went to the doctor again, there was like just all these little things in me that were all around me. I wound up buying a bracelet that said fearless, and I would just wear it. And everything I was doing it was just like this motto to conquer fear. I remember booking a plane ticket to go to Maui by myself. And like, I used to be so insecure and codependent, I wouldn't even like go into the grocery store by myself. And so here I go, fly to Maui, and I jump off lava rocks and all these crazy things. And while I was there, I was still bleeding. And when I came back, I was actually standing in line at Krispy Kreme with my daughter, and we were having a cheat meal. You know what those are.
Yeah.
And so I was having
I love
a cheat
my
meal.
donuts. Yeah,
Krispy Kreme, right? Good
Project
choice.
Donuts. I'm gonna tell you about it. It's right up the road. Anyways,
Okay.
don't get me started on that.
I love donuts. Weakness. And so I was standing in line, and I was wearing these little tiny blue shorts, and had my shirt on. Said, I do not care. I was ready. And I wind up, it was a big deal. Yeah. So I wind up bleeding straight through my pants. Like, it's a lot of TMI, but it is what it is. Yeah. And, as a woman, I had already had a tampon and a pad. Like, I was just like, this is my new life, And my daughter was with me. And I mean, when I'm saying I gushed, it was blood. And my daughter freaked out. She was like, Mom, if you don't go to the doctor, I'm going to drag you there. And I'm like, baby, I've already went, and I'm not like, I have a contract whatsoever. So I was like, I'll go, I'll go again. And I did. I just happened to go to a different doctor that I'd never been to. He's like, we'll do a PAP on you and we'll just check everything out, but it's probably your hormones and we'll switch up your birth control. And I'm like, okay, go ahead. And he did a pap and he found 2 polyps, which is, I know you guys are dudes. So
I know all about this.
On the cervix, and it's essentially like a skin tag that can be on the cervix. And I'd had them before, and you just get them removed, no big deal. And so I was like, oh yeah. And the doctor kept on and on, like, we'll send these off, but don't worry, they're not cancerous or anything. And he kept saying it to the point where I looked at him and I go, easy, and he's like, I'm just saying, like, it wouldn't be. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think it is, but thank you. And so
It never occurred to me until you brought it up 7 times.
Yeah.
Now I'm getting suspicious.
Yeah, exactly. Made you suspicious.
Yeah. So
fuck that.
I'd also had them check me for STDs and everything. Like, I'm just going to be vulnerable with you here. Because I'd been divorced, and I'm like, I want to know what's going on with my body. So I had them also check for that and everything. Well, they call me a week later, and I'm on lunch break, and they call to tell me that those are all clear. And I'm like, oh, okay. And we almost hung up the phone, and I said, oh, wait a minute. What about the other thing? And they're like, well, we can't actually disclose that over the phone. And I'm like, well, why not? They're like, it's confidential. And I got kind of snippy, and I said, well, I can't think of anything more confidential than STD test.
Yeah, right.
You told me that over the phone. And so they're like, you have to come in for that. And I go, okay, well, when do you want me to come in? Mind you, it took them a couple of weeks to get me in. They're like, can you come in now? And I'm just like, okay. So I text my best friend, and I was like, something feels weird. They're calling me back in to go over some results or whatever. And she's like, do you want me to come with you? And I said, no, I'll be fine. So I go in, and they walk me past all the rooms, and they put me into the doctor's office. And so by then I was like a bundle of nerves, And I stopped texting my friend. She's like, are you okay? And I was just waiting. The doctor comes in, and he puts his hand on my shoulder, and I said, you guys are really freaking me out. And I like to cover everything with humor. And I said, you guys are making me feel like I have like cancer or something, haha, a funny joke, right? And he put his hand on my shoulder. He said, Shawn, that's exactly what it is. He's like, I didn't want to tell you over the phone. And I just started looking around the room for cameras. I thought I was being punked, like, for real, because I'm like, I'm 34 years old. I have 3 kids. I'm a single mom. I cannot have this. Like, I cannot. I just got my life back, not fair. So, he was talking, and he was trying to tell me what he would do, where he'd go. I'd have to go to a specialist because the type of cancer I had was uterine cancer, and it was extremely rare. Especially for someone my age. So the demographics are somebody that's over 65. A risk factor is obesity, also not having children. So I was none of those. And so it was just kind of a freak situation. And so, it shook my world, and I wasn't going to tell a soul. I wasn't going to tell anybody. And he asked if he could call someone, and I said, no. I said, if I can just go out the back, please, just show me the back. And so he's like, are you sure? I said, yeah. So I went out the back, and here comes my dad pulling in his little gray Toyota Corolla. And I'm like, where did you come from? And it's the weirdest thing, because I've heard, like, sin grows in secrecy. Not that having cancer is a sin, but certainly all the fear and the fear of judgment. Like, it was the weirdest thing. I felt like everybody would think that I deserved getting cancer,
Yeah.
I did. I thought everybody would be like, serves her right, serves her right. Look at her. She's divorced. Serves her right. And my dad was there, and he pulled in, and he was like, Shawn, what's going on? What's going on? And I just was like, what? And my dad has high blood pressure, and I worry about him. And, I just looked at him, and I started crying, and I said, Dad, it's cancer. And he started crying, and that's the hard part. It's your dad,
Yeah.
It's like, it's my dad. It's my only parent, so I don't want to stress him out. But, and he just started crying, and then my ex-husband shows up, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah,
Good God.
for real.
Like, who has called everybody here,
Yeah.
But I'm like, I think it's wild, because I would have not told anybody. And so here comes everyone, I'm like, so great. Everybody's going to know, you know? And then my dad calls my aunt. I'm freaking out because I did not want to be known as cancer girl. I wanted to be known as the girl with the cape on her back that's killing it and is getting to stay in her house and is doing well at work and proving everybody that I'm not my mother and I'm not the tarot card girl. So, with that said, I was still working at the spa, and there were just some questionable things that were being asked of me to do, basically sell women treatments that they just didn't need, you know, and I didn't feel good about it. And then at that same time, like I'm feeling this new passion for just health and wellness, like, because here I was, that was the best I'd ever looked. Like I felt beautiful. I know I looked beautiful, you know, on the outside, but nobody knew when they looked at me that I was so scared, like so scared and so broken and sick. Like I was sick and I'm just like, what's going on? So I remember thinking, this side of this business means nothing. It means nothing if you don't have this. Mm-hmm. And I remember thinking, I'm not going to be able to do this show. I'm going to get thrown into menopause. Everybody wants to tell you what's going to happen to your body after menopause. You're going to gain all this weight. You're going to grow hair in all these weird places. I'm like, thanks. So it's like, I better do it now. So I decided to go ahead and there was a moment on my back porch where I was very angry and I was just like, this sucks. Like, I'm so tired of being strong. I'm so tired of having a light. There was a song by Trevor Hall. It says, don't you carry stones in your bowl of light. And I swear that song saved me because I remember like, screw the light, screw it. Like, I don't even want it anymore. Like, I'm so tired of it, you know, so tired of having to find the light again. And, but I remember I'm like, no, it's not going to take my light. And so I got up from the back porch and I went into my bathroom and I wrote down 3 things that I was going to do. And I was going to compete in a bodybuilding show, but my belly was so big. I just had surgery. I had to have a hysterectomy and I had scars everywhere. And, you know, I was just puffed up. And so it wasn't realistic at that time, but I wrote it down that I was going to do it. A year later, I did compete and I did get I placed first in my division. Nice. And I did it and I was the happiest girl there. I know for sure. I was the winner no matter if I had won or not, but I done that. And then the second thing is I was going to open up my own med spa and it was going to have health and wellness with it. And it was going to be called Fire Ice. And I did that the next year. And the next year we won #1 med spa. And it's been a beautiful thing because it's been born out of passion and it's been born out of pushing through fear. And just necessity. I want to leave a legacy. You know, I want something to where I want women to know that you can be broken, you can be self-conscious, insecure, you can be all these things. But underneath that, if you peel that away, there's your original make, right? Yeah. All those other things that were tacked onto you, those aren't true. You take those away and there you are. You take those away, here I am. Like when I walked in this building, I hope you did not see an insecure woman that is, you know, self-conscious.
I told you I saw a criminal. I saw a criminal come through those doors. I thought you should
just tone it down a little bit. You know,
you saw a thug.
You know, you came in and it's like.
But it's been really great, and you know, it's wild because I've been really convicted lately about the third thing. You know, a lot of people don't ever ask, well, what was that third thing? And the third thing was to tell the story of how I overcame all of that. It really gets me emotional because I made that declaration before I knew, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I made it before I knew. So that's the big one and here I am right now. Right.
God almighty. Shawn, that was beautiful. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like what a powerful story.
Thanks.
So you just now, you just now crossed the third one? Is that what you? That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I love that.
Yeah.
My God. Yeah. I'm blown away by this whole thing. I mean,
me too.
It's just such a powerful story of like, I mean, it's all a relentless pursuit to be the best you could.
Yeah.
I hate to use my name, but you know,
that's
what it was.
I told you I like that name.
You just kept barreling through everything, regardless of the situation. And you stayed true to that light. You kept that. Yeah. And look at you now. I mean, wonderful mother. You got the confidence. While you are a criminal, I did see a lot of confidence in that criminality. But like,
Yeah,
I'm reformed.
a lot of confidence in your criminality. Yeah, for sure. No doubt.
but
no doubt.
you've created what you set out to do, and you're still going. I mean, there's
Yeah.
still so much more ahead of you as
Yeah.
well. And I freaking love that. I mean, if that doesn't inspire people, I don't know what will.
Well,
Hell
that's
yeah.
what that's what I hope. You know,
God.
if I can do it, anyone can do it. That's because
Hey, we all have our stories.
Yeah.
You know, so that's amazing.
That's
I don't even know.
awesome.
I don't
Yeah.
even know. I feel like there's nothing even else.
I mean, we're coming up on time anyway, so
Well,
that's
perfect.
a perfect. Yeah, that's
Sweet.
wrap that
a
up.
perfect way.
Yeah.
But if you guys have got any closing statements other than that,
You have anything to say?
I appreciate you being part of my story.
Hey, we're grateful to have experienced this, and we'll have you after the next milestone, wherever you hit with your business or whatever.
Yeah.
We're gonna have you back, talk more about it, and we're gonna come up there and get some shit done.
Yeah,
I need some
you need
lip
to come.
injections or
oh yeah,
I've been wanting that. So
Yeah,
let's get
nothing
some
crazy.
puffy lips.
There's been
Yeah.
wanting some
Let's
of that.
go.
We have the men's bourbon facial. Maybe you could start there.
Okay,
There you go.
right,
Yeah,
we'll
work your way up
I'll
to the
start
lip
out
filler.
slow. Sometimes I just don't jump in head first.
I get that. I see that.
Well, last question. What is your relentless pursuit?
To be the best version of myself, and to also, it's twofold, right? Because I find that sometimes you can get into the pursuit of being the best version and you forget to have those moments of peace and happiness and to look back on what you've done when you're constantly striving for more.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
I just had that. You saw that post. I just had that
Yeah.
raw realization on vacation. And I was like,
Yes.
shit. Okay. So
To enjoy the ride.
hell yeah.
Yeah.
Good deal. Well,
Well, if I just want to make sure we put this on here, if you want to tell everybody where they can follow you and whatnot, and then
Yeah.
we'll get out of cheer.
So my Instagram is Shawn.Irene, and you can follow my business at Fire Ice Cryo Medspa. We're on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok.
awesome. Thank you for coming, Shawn.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Awesome. Take care.
And that's it.
Big cry, baby.
That was awesome.